What's poppin', y'all? This is an example of somebody that was done dirty, and that's Rod Wave. To my shock, when the other night I saw Rod Wave had a mugshot, and everyone was focused on the fact that he was 5'6", 350, which is burly boy. If you guys remember when Riff Raff had his security guard, and when Riff Raff was taking a lot of roids and just eating and pigging out on everything and working out heavy, he had this security guard that was also a giant. Dude was like 6'10" or something. I think the security guard passed away, if I'm not mistaken, unfortunately. Well, he used to call them the burly boys. It was Riff Raff and his security guard. But yeah, this is beyond a burly boy. But the fact that the thing that surprised me was, they said possession of a firearm or something by a convicted felon. And I started rubbing my forehead. I'm like, convicted felon? Rod Wave? No way. How is he a convicted felon? I don't remember him ever getting arrested before. I don't remember him having a record. He doesn't talk about being a gangster in his music. He doesn't portray that image. If I had to say a rapper that's come out in the past 6 or so years, I think, when did he come out? Maybe like 2019, he really started like kicking things into gear, 2018 maybe. Rod Wave is a perfect example of a rapper that doesn't need to hang around a bunch of rappers, isn't doing the most, is pretty much just dropping great music that his fans love, touring that music, performing, doing the most he can for them, and kicking back. Doesn't need to be in the spotlight, doesn't need to be hanging around a bunch of other rappers, collabs with who he wants to work with. He's the model rapper of how to handle your career. Doesn't have any issues. We don't hear any headlines about him with some baby mama drama, none of that stuff. So I'm looking at this like, what the hell? And then I saw his lawyer, who is the same lawyer as Kodak Black. He's Law Ronin on Instagram. And he posted and said, myself and at M. Prankin represent Rod, and below is our statement. Rod was arrested and detained with absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing. The police claimed he was a felon in possession of ammunition. Not only was he not in possession of ammunition, a basic check of public records would have easily demonstrated to the police that he was not a convicted felon. The prosecutor and the judge immediately agreed that the evidence did not support the charge and set him free the same day. And this is the problem. This news did not spread as much as the news of Rod Wave not only getting arrested, but the video clip, which I'll play for you guys right now. So this video clip started doing the rounds, and as you can see, it's Rod Wave walking out, like 4 people, or 5. 4 of them, I think they've got guns. They start airing it out. Rod Wave starts running backwards. Rod Wave is pretty nimble for a guy that big. And this led to a bunch of people saying, yo, Rod Wave is getting busy out there in St. Petersburg, Florida. Rod Wave wasn't holding a weapon. He wasn't shooting at anybody. Some people were saying, yo, is Rod Wave kind of doing the Young Thug thing where he's got goons handling stuff for him? I will say, if Rod Wave is rolling around with guys that got this issue, that's most likely not a good crowd to be on. However, I'm not willing to extrapolate or I would say make guesses as to probably investigations that are underway on potential investigations that are underway on Rod Wave. Although there might be, because if they're arresting him and they know, this is just negligence. You arrest a guy and you charge him when you know that he's not a felon. And the records show that he's not a felon. And the case was dropped the next day. That's so weird. And I don't know if it's incompetence. I don't know if it's intentional. This is just a bizarre scenario. Has this ever... I know we've got a couple of people that watch the channel that either have friends who've had dealings with the law or themselves have. Has this type of situation ever occurred to you guys? The reason why I ask is because you're probably not famous. So have you ever gotten charged for something like this where you have X, Y, or Z that you're not supposed to have as a felon, yet you're not a felon? Has that ever happened to you? Because I haven't heard of something like that happening. And this harms, it doesn't harm Rod Wave's career because he's hip-hop, but it does make people look at him a different way. It made me look back, and I did take the time to wait and see how this panned out for a day or two, and there's still probably a bunch of stuff because his 3 other homies were the ones that got arrested for the shooting. I don't think anybody got hurt. If I were to reread the article, okay, 4 people were injured. I don't know how badly they were injured, but, what is it with, you've got 4 people, they're all letting off shots, it looks like a crowded area, and they just miss everybody. Now, listen, I wouldn't be happier if these guys actually had aim and could take people out, because that would be lives lost. But man, how many times do you have to bust a gun to just learn how to use it? And you would think it's like fish in a barrel. Everyone's out there and no one's getting hit. And definitely not their targets are getting hit. But I hope Rod Wave is able to distance himself from this. The last thing that I would ever want to see is a Fetty Wap type situation, because Rod Wave, I always like to give Rod Wave credit, and I've made videos about him in the past, because he is not severely underrated. I wouldn't say that's the word, but he is overlooked and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Because, for instance, let's just take numbers, right? And he also dispels the shroud or cloud of quote unquote aura, as people like to call it, of people's numbers. So, for instance, Rod Wave has 7.8 million monthly listeners right now. He's dropped an album last year, somewhat recently last year. That album did really well. But this is just some contrast. Rod Wave went on a sold-out tour. Dude was doing Barclays Center. I don't know if he did it 2 nights in a row, but I know he did it at least 1 night. He was doing Barclays Center. He's doing these big venues, like 20,000 plus people sometimes, on tour. That is the one thing you cannot fake. You cannot fake people showing up to your shows. And people showing up to the shows, and you hear them singing every single song. And there's no crazy effects. There's no choreography. There's no him jumping around, because we probably wouldn't even want him jumping around. It's just Rod Wave, a microphone, and his music, and him just singing to fans. That is incredible. That's talent right there. But he's got 7.8 million monthly listeners. This is where I'm going to do the contrast, and this is no hate to this person, but she just so happens to illustrate my point perfectly, which is Coi Leray. Coi Leray has 21 million. No, not 21 million. I don't know why I had that number in my mind. She's got 17.6 million monthly listeners right now. She's had a bigger global hit song, globally. Players, that song is bigger globally than most likely any song Rod Wave has ever made. Yet, Coi Leray couldn't do venues on a tour a 10th the size of Rod Wave. Yet she's got a 2-point-something X monthly listeners than him. And this doesn't just go for her. It goes for a lot of other rappers. Like Playboi Carti, for instance, people say he's super lit. But we have yet to see. Playboi Carti just canceled his tour. For whatever reason, if it was anybody else, people would be like, yeah, he couldn't sell tickets. But it's Playboi Carti, so, he's working on 2024 music. He's just doing a bunch of other things. Okay, I didn't say he couldn't sell, but he did a tour last time, and people were saying, oh, it was arenas. I'm pretty sure it was just the floor, which is completely different. We haven't seen Playboi Carti at the Barclays Center sell the whole thing out like Rod Wave. And that just goes to show Rod Wave is killing the game. He is making unbelievable bags, and he keeps getting better. Now, people will say, man, he just makes sad music, this and that. People will always find a criticism of you. Yeah, that's why it would hurt me to see a Fetty Wap type situation where he somehow got involved in crime. Some people say Fetty Wap, the money was not flowing in at the rate that it once was, so he went back to hustling, and that's what got him caught up. But I know that's not the case for Rod Wave, because this guy's making, I don't even want to think the amount of money that Rod Wave is caking in. Both, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hold myself back from making that joke. I'm going to be a little bit more mature. This is towards the end of the video. We're trying to give the guy credit. We're going to keep taking digs at him? That's not cool. Rod Wave is making unbelievable amounts of money. It would hurt me to see his freedom being taken away because of the actions of people that he decided to have around him. And some will say, hey, you've got to make sure the company that you keep is going to at least not harm you. Maybe they won't necessarily benefit you and level you up, but they're not going to drag you down to their level. But hey, maybe Rod Wave was in his home city, wanted to kick it with some homies, and they decided to get busy. And he's like, damn, what the hell? I thought we were just going to kick it. And then their beef, they just saw someone and it was on site. But let me know what you guys think about the situation. Do you think there's any danger of Rod Wave getting caught up in something in the future? Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.